Okay, so I'm just going to begin the recording now. Okay, so as I said, welcome everybody to the March webinar for Mozy. So my own name is Niall Fahy, and I am the support trainer here in Mozy. So I look after the internal support training and any external training that we would do with customers. And this is one of my duties, is to do these support webinars that we do once a month. So today's session is all about getting started with MozyPro. So we're going to be doing a kind of a live walkthrough, which is a different, for anybody who has joined us before, it is different to how we normally approach our webinars. So instead today it's going to be more of a live interactive session where I'm going to walk through all the various areas that you would see when you sign up for Mozy. So I'll take a few seconds after each section kind of that I run through. If you do have any questions, pop them into the question window. If they're relevant to what we just covered, I'll answer them there and then. If there's something that I'm going to answer or cover later on, I will highlight that you've asked the question, and I will point out that we'll be covering it in a moment or two. And then at the end, I'll leave some time open to any general questions that you may have on what we've covered in today's webinar. So we'll get started now. So the first thing that you would have done obviously is signing up to Mozy. So you would have done that via the website, or you may have interacted with a support account manager or sales account manager rather, and you may have done your sign up through them. So what happens now that you've signed up? Okay, so the first thing you need to do is obviously access the administration console to get your users set up and to get your account set up and get everybody beginning their backups. So how would you do that? Is the first thing you will get is an email confirmation. So you may have gotten this, or you will probably most likely have gotten this already. So this is what the email confirmation will look like. It will welcome you to MozyPro. It will give you information around the support portal, the community, the knowledge base, all things we're going to look at in a moment. And it gives you a link to get some help on getting started. And that I would recommend having a look at that getting started link as well, because it does take you through an action-oriented screen of information that will help you begin the process of using your Mozy admin account. It will also give you your support ID. I've blocked it out obviously on this one because this recording will be going on to our website. But your support ID will be highlighted in both those areas there where you can see it's excluded in the light blue. And then as well, with that support ID, you will need that for contacting support, and we will highlight that later on again. So you'll receive that email first. The second email that you will receive is the important one for you, is the activation of your administration account. Okay, so once you sign up, you will get an email, and the content of the email will be like this. It will ask you to activate your administration account by clicking on the link. When you click on the link, it will ask you to create a password, and that will be the password for your administration account. Okay, so that would be the root administrator for the account. Okay, so that is important. It's a very important, obviously, process when you're setting up your admin account, is setting up your root administrator password, because that's the account you're going to use to anytime you're interacting with Mozy. That is the account you're going to have to log in with. The second email that you will receive, we're going to look at here, the third email that we're going to look at here is for your users. So when you set up a user, and it's a process we're going to look at in a moment, when you set up a user, then they will receive this email that will welcome them. So it will will say their name, and it will welcome them to Mozy. It will tell them that their account administrator has created an account for them. And to use this account, they just need to click on the link. And when they click on that account profile setup, it will take them to the Mozy website, and it will take them to a specific page where they can create a password. This will be their password for their user account. Once they create that password, it will then bring them to a screen to download the Mozy software. The screen will prompt them with the relevant version of the software depending on what operating system they are currently on. So if they're on a Mac machine, it will push them the Mac client. If it's on a Windows machine that they're accessing this account profile setup, then it will offer them the Windows client. There will also be an option there to drop down and select any version that you want in case it's a scenario where you want to install the software on a virtual machine or something like that in your environment. So this is what the user will receive, and we'll be looking at activating users in more detail in a moment. So those are the kind of activation emails that you will receive. Now what we're going to look at is the administration console. What we're going to look at here is some of the stuff that you're going to frequently interact with. Okay, and for the most part, the admin console will be where you will do all your, I suppose, account setups, your client configurations, and so forth for the Mozy software and for your users. The admin console is, again, it's designed to try and make it as streamlined as possible in terms of how you interact with it. So what it will try and do is it will try and get you to complete tasks in as quickly as a way as possible, and we'll go through all those in a moment. So I'm just going to bring up here the admin console. I hope you can see that on your screen now. So this is my admin console page that I would see when I log into mozy.com/login. So this is my internal training account, but it's the same kind of account that you people would see when you log in. So when you guys log in, it's the Mozy dashboard that you will see like this. You will see on the left-hand side, we have a lot of resources for the admin console and areas that we can go to. In the center of the page, then, we have a backup graph, a pie chart, and the machines underneath the account. So this backup chart here in the dashboard area here that we see is, this backup chart here is basically giving me the information of all the backups made in the last week of all the machines that are under my account. So if you have a small account where you're only backing up, say, 10 machines, or you have a large account where you're backing up hundreds of machines, then they will be shown here underneath the backups made in the last week. The backup pie chart over here then gives you an overview of your backups. This is useful also in that it allows you to check the health of your account rather quickly. It will give you an idea of who's backed up in the last 24 hours, which is this green area here, who's never backed up, which is this yellow area here, and then backups that are over a week old in this large area here. And clicking on any of these hyperlinks here will bring up those machines. So if we click on the never backed up, you'll see the machine area updates there. And if we look down here, okay, so it is a bit deceptive, so just be careful that if you are using the Mozy Sync client on your account, then they will show as never backing up, because technically the Sync software actually doesn't run a backup. It syncs your data from your machine to the cloud and to any other machines that you'll have the Sync software installed on. So it's not actually running a backup in the same way that the client does. It's just mirroring your data from your machine to our servers to any other machines that you have. If you don't know what Sync is, there's plenty of information at support.mozy.com and on our websites about the Sync software. So basically, it's just worthwhile just checking which ones are never backed up. If you're seeing any machines that should be in here, say for example you have a user that you've just recently installed and they should be running backups, but you see them in this list, then it is a good way to proactively see which cases or which machines you may need to open a case for, or you may need to check in with the user. So as I said, these little hyperlinks here will give you those machines relatively quickly. It will give you the machine name here on the left-hand side and the user on the right-hand side. Okay, so first, what I'm going to do here, rather than going in showing you the users and the accounts and stuff that, we're going to do the first thing first. We're going to go up here to the quick links and we're going to show you how you add your users. Okay, so if we click on quick links there, it'll just give us some of the resource summary and add new users. Okay, so in the quick links section here, so we have add new users as well. we have change plan, and we have the option to download the Mozy client. So this quick links section here will give you the most common areas that you will be interacting with when you're inside in the admin console. Okay, so just to jump back to the resource summary, you'll see it here on the screen. So the resource summary here will tell you how much storage you have on your account and how much you're actually using. Okay, so here you'll see you have 13.3 gigabytes available, and I'm using 96.7 gigabytes on my account. Okay, if I wish to upgrade my plan, I have the change plan function there, and I have my plan here. You'll notice that the submit button is grayed out until you change, until you actually change the plan in any way. That's when the submit button becomes clickable. Until that point, it's not clickable because obviously you haven't changed anything and there's nothing to submit. So we're just going to add new user. I'm going to click on that link there. And this will open up the add new user screen. Okay. So from here, what you need to do is you need to define the profile. What type of user is it going to be? You will have this option if you have the server key purchased. If you have the server key purchased, then you'll have the option for what type of user you want to use. If you don't, and you're just using desktop users, this will obviously be pre-populated for you with the desktop users. Okay, so you select your user, which you want. Say we're going to go with desktop here. Okay, if you want to, at this time, you can input a storage limit. Okay, so a storage limit just basically allows the user to only use a certain amount of storage. Okay, so what does that mean? It means that because you have a shared pool of storage that everybody pulls from, so if you have 100 gigabytes, that it's available to all your users. If you have a user who you think would be a particularly heavy user of storage, and you only want that user to use a certain amount of storage, then you can limit it directly from here. So you can say, I only want this user to use 10 gigabytes. That would mean that they'll still pull from the shared pool of storage, but if they reach 10 gigabytes, then at that point, then they will start beginning to receive an account error 3 message. And this just basically means that they've reached their storage capacity. At that point, then you can come back in here, and if you feel there's a need to, you can adjust this storage limit. I'll show you how to do that in a moment, how you do that with an existing user. And you can adjust that storage limit, or you can remove it altogether. The next thing you need to do is to decide how many devices you want the user to back up. So this basically is how many machines you want the user to be able to back up. So if you decide, John Doe, my user I know he has a Windows machine, he has a Mac machine, desktops, and he has a Windows laptop. So I'm going to assign John Doe 3 devices. So what that will do is that it will allow him to use 3 devices. So when he goes to install the software, on his first machine, he will create a password. And then when he goes to install on subsequent machines, he will just use that same username and password, and that machine will be added to his existing account already. And we'll look at what that looks like in a moment in one of our user accounts. Okay, so the key here, obviously, for adding a user, is identifying what type of user you want, server or desktop. Then deciding if you want to put in a storage limit or not from the offset. Again, you don't have to do this from the offset. It can be done at a later point. And then you just need to decide how many devices are you going to allow this user to back up. So how many computers are you going to let this user back up? Again, that can be changed at a later point, and we'll look at that in a moment. Just to give you the differentiation between the server users and desktop users, server users are intended for those obviously backing up server operating systems. Although a server user you can be a server user and install on a desktop operating system. The advantage that a server user has over a desktop user is only in one area, and that is that they're able to back up a NAS device. Desktop users can only install on desktop operating systems, and they cannot back up NAS devices. So if you have a desktop machine and you're connecting to a NAS device and you want to back up that NAS device also, you would need to set yourself up or your user up as a server user. Okay, so once you've input that information, so we're going to put desktop here, you then come down and you enter the user's name, so their username or they're just their name, so you just put in name, and then you would input their email address. Once you have this done, if you want to add the user straight away, if it's just the one user you're adding, you can just click add user and it will send the email instruction to the user that we saw a while ago, asking them to set up their account where they set up their password and download the software. If you want this set up to apply to additional users, you can add more users here and input their names and their email addresses, and the same profile that you've defined here will be applied to all these additional users. Okay, so that just allows you to set up or define a profile once and apply it to multiple users. Okay, so looking at it then, so from a point of view of active users, so once you've sent that email, the user will install the software, they'll create their password and they'll install the software on their machine. What they'll see then is they will be backing up the software, or they'll be backing up the files and folders on their machine. From your side as the administrator, what you will be able to see then is you'll have this section here, which is list users. You will be able to see your users here, so you will be able to input your user email address and submit and search all the users that are on your account. The user will open up like this. Once you search for them, it will have the user's email address, their name, whether they have sync enabled or not, how many machines or devices they're backing up, how much storage they're using, if there's a limit on it, as you can see there is on my account here, how much storage is being used, when it was created, and when was the last backup. Just be careful that this one here, because I have 4 devices, this could be any one of the 4 devices. Often this is one that catches some of us out sometimes when we're looking at an account when somebody reports an issue and we see, okay, it's backed up relatively recently, but it may not be the machine that they're talking about. As you can see here, I have 4 devices. Okay, it gives me here my name, the username, when the account was created, if it's active, and the ability to enable sync here. As well as that, I have the ability to delete the user as the root administrator. I have the ability to change the user's password as the root administrator. I even have the ability to change the user's email and log in as the user if I wish. So if you go to change the user password, here you will get a drop down and it will ask you to input the user's password and then confirm the password. Okay, and that would be, if you wish, then that could be a temporary password, so that once they log in the next time themselves, they'll be asked to create a new permanent password. If you don't want and you just want to set a password for them, then you just untick that option and save changes. And that will just send them, that will allow them to log in with the password you created, and you would need to pass that as the root administrator onto the end user. Okay, so in terms of my account then, in terms of my storage and my devices and so forth, in this section here, I can actually see the storage I'm using, how much is available, devices that I'm using, and how many are available. Okay, as I mentioned a while ago, you don't have to set up additional devices when you're adding the user account. So when you're going in here and adding the account, you don't need to set the storage limit here. You don't even have to set more than 1 device here because it can be changed at a later point. Okay, once you open up the user's account, here you can edit the devices. You can add or remove. So I've given this user 10 devices so that they can back up 10 devices. If I want to, I can choose more. And as you can see there, it's giving me a maximum of 20 devices only for the individual user. And that's just to avoid the scenario where a single user has every single device underneath an account, as that can become a bit of a problem. So there's where you can edit additional devices. If a user comes along after you've set them up and they look for additional, they add another machine and they want to actually back that up also. The user storage limits. So there's two additional options here for storage limits. Okay, you have the user storage limit, which we see here when we're setting up the profile. We can remove that or we can edit it. So as I mentioned a while ago, when you come back at a later point, if you wish to edit it, you can do that. Okay, if you want to, you can remove it also. And then we have the secondary option, which is setting a device storage limit. So if you are happy with not having a storage limit for a user, but a particular device that they have is being a heavy user of the storage, then you can set a device limit also. And that will have the same scenario. When the user hits that limit, then they will receive an account error 3, and that basically will tell them, that they have reached their maximum quota allowance, and they will either need to reassess their file selection, or they will need to look for additional storage from you, the administrator. So if you open up one of these machines here, you will see the information that they will see. You can see for the user's machine. So you will see here their backups, and this just basically is mirroring what the user will see on the software installed on their machine in their history tab. So if you have the software installed on your machine now, the history tab that you have available to you, basically this is the same information that we see here from that. Okay. We also have the option as the root administrator here to restore files or delete the machine. Just be very careful that if you're deleting machines and deleting users, because that does remove their data from our servers. So be sure if you are deleting something, if you are deleting a machine, you are deleting a user, be sure that it's something you 100% want to do. If you try to delete a user, it will prompt you for your password, but it won't prompt you if you're deleting a machine. It would also list the restores that you've requested for the user here, or the user has requested themselves, if you allow them access to the web restores, something we'll look at in a moment. So now you've added a machine for a user. You've seen how you can adjust how many devices they can back up, and you can adjust how much storage. If there's a storage limit, you can see how to adjust that. The next thing I just want to show you is the client configuration on the server side. So client configuration here on the left-hand side, underneath configuration, it allows us to create a configuration for our users. So basically it allows us to decide what files and folders we want our users to back up. And we do that by selecting the key type. So for server users, you may have one type of client configuration, and for desktop users, you may have a different type of configuration. Client configurations from the admin console are not every administrator's cup of tea. Some prefer to just allow their own users to decide what they will and won't back up. Other administrators prefer to have that control where they can decide what the user can back up. So what you do is you just give it a name. So we'll just call it webinar, and we'll select it for server users, and we'll hit next. If you don't have the server option, it will just obviously prompt you with desktop. In here, then you will see the general options and then Windows specific options. So these are very much similar to the options that you will see as an end user when you log into, say, the client on your machine. When you're logging in there, you will have a lot of these options as well to select from when you're trying to configure your own software. So you'll notice here you can set it as a setting, and there's a lock option here. Okay, so what the lock option means is highlighted up here. Okay, so basically locking an option prevents the user from changing the configuration setting within their local client. Options are not locked, will not be overwritten in existing installations. So basically what that means is that if I set up a client configuration and I push it out to my users, okay, when a new user installs the software, they'll pull down this client configuration, and whatever I've decided that they should back up, it will be pushed to them. Okay. If I then make a change to this client configuration here online, those changes will not be pushed to the user unless, when I was selecting the setting, I also lock the option. If I just select it as a setting, then what will happen is that this new setting will only be applied to new installations of the software. Okay, so new installations of the software, that would only get applied to. If I lock it, what will happen is it'll be applied to new installations, but it would also be pushed to any existing users that are using this configuration. You can do, outside of preferences, you can customize the scheduling, you can customize the bandwidth throttling, you can specify specific backup sets that the user has to use. You can remove existing backup sets if you wish, if you don't want the user to be using them, and you as well have Mac backup sets there. Once you are happy with the configuration here, you can hit Save Changes, and that will apply to any user then that installs and is using a server. It's set up as a server user type. There is more information available on this from the support website inside in the documentation documentations tab, from the admin console guide. That admin console guide is also available in your support section here. You can click on this and it will open up you can access the admin console guide from there also. So as I mentioned a while ago, you can hit up the change plan option as well if you wish. When you go to that section there for resources is where you'll find the resource summary and the ability to change your plan. You'll also find your billing information. Okay, here in your billing information section, you'll see the information on your account status. So what's your next renewal? What's the breakdown of your actual plan? Will be listed here underneath billing information. Your billing history will contain all the invoices that you would have generated when updating your account or when renewing your account. They're all stored here. You do have the option of getting sent these PDF copies of your invoices at every time your account is charged. Or if you choose not to, they still are stored here indefinitely on your account. So you can access them at any point. These are the billing invoices for your account. If you need to change your payment information, that is done underneath the billing history. So if you need to update a credit card or anything like that, it will be done in this section here in the change payment information section. If a user comes to you and they're looking to download the software and they need access to the client, you can come into the root admin console yourself and go to the download section, and it will list here all the available backup clients, and you can send these download links to them and they can install the software again themselves. Okay, as I mentioned there a second ago, if we just go to the user account, if I just click on my name here, it will pull up underneath configuration the account details. Okay, and from this point here, I can decide whether I want to receive the Mozy email notifications. Okay, and that email notification basically is whether you want to receive any invoices whenever they're created for your account. So whenever you make a change to your account, whether you add storage or remove storage, whether you go for your renewal or whatever it may be, then you can choose to have an email sent to you with that invoice every time it's done. If you don't want to, you can just leave it at no, and those invoices will still be available once you log in here, and they will be available underneath the billing history as I just showed you there a second ago. in the Resources tab. Underneath Billing History, those invoices will be there indefinitely for you. But if you wish to receive an email every time that an invoice is created for your account, you would just come here to Account Details and you can change this option here to Yes. Okay. So you've now set up your users, you've allowed them create their accounts, they're backing up, you may have decided on what they're backing up using a client configuration from the Mozy admin console. Now they are looking to restore files. Okay, so that's the next point I'm going to step into. If there are any questions, please do pop them in, and I will address them as we go. So what we're looking at here now is I have a user and they want to restore files. What are their options? Okay, so there are two options for a user when they want to restore files. They can do it from the client itself that's installed on their machine, doing what's known as an in-client restore. And basically, they just go to the client that's installed on their machine. They go to the Restore tab in the client. They select the files they want to restore, hit Restore, and it downloads them to the machine for them ready to go. The second option is a web-based restore. Now, it is your decision whether you would like your end users to be able to perform a web restore. Some administrators don't want users to be able to do web restores because it means that they can access the files when they're not in their office. So for example, the user may be at home on their personal laptop, they can access the web restore window and download some files to their machine there. Some administrators don't like users to be able to have that option, and therefore they only allow them to do the in-client restores. If you want your users to be able to do web-based restores and also to be able to reset their own passwords, then you would need to enable a subdomain. Your account manager can assist you with that if it hasn't been set up for you when you were signing up. Just reach out to them and they can set up a subdomain for you. It's at no extra cost, and just basically that just allows your end users to log in, perform web restores, and it also allows them to restore their passwords themselves. If you don't have a subdomain set up, it just means that your end users can't perform web restores and they can't reset their password themselves. If they need to reset their password, they would have to come to you, the root administrator, because you would be the one that would be able to verify their account, whereas any Mozy support representatives would not be able to verify that end user. So let's take, for the example, an end user is coming to us. We do not have a subdomain set up. So in that scenario, how do we go about assisting them with a restore? Okay. What we can do from that point of view is come here and select Search List Users. We will search the user. From here, we can open the user's account. We can select this folder here to restore files from this individual machine. Apologies. And create a web restore for the user that they can download themselves. We can send the link to them. Okay. From here as well, we can also see the ability, we have the ability to log in as the user to see what the user sees. We'll double back to that in this moment. Let's just look at quickly the web restore functionality. So when we click on that web restore interface, it will open up the web restore interface, and from here they will be able to select their backed up devices, or if they don't have access to it, then you can select their backed up devices and create the restore for them. Okay, just bear in mind that any restores are created. If you create any restore, the end user does get notified, even if they don't have access to the admin console themselves. They still will get an email notification notifying them that a restore has been created for them. Okay, and that's just a bit of built-in security to ensure that nobody is accessing users' files without their knowledge, and I suppose just to give them that extra bit of security around and comfort knowing that nobody can access their files without them knowing that. Okay, so you can come in here and create a web restore. You can find additional knowledge base articles and tutorials at support.mozy.com in relation to performing web restores. I don't have the time to walk through them in this session, but needless to say, this is the interface, and this is where you will go to create a web restore. It's where the end user will go if they do have access to web restores also. So if you're considering using or getting that subdomain set up, and you're considering giving the end user the ability to log in and create their own web restores, but you're just hesitant because you don't know what do they have access to, then I'm just going to show you here by clicking on this login as user. We're going to see what the end user would see when they log in via the subdomain to the Mozy admin console. And this is all they see. So they just see a listing of their computers, how much there is available to them storage-wise, how much they've backed up, when was their last backup, and they have the ability here to restore files. So that's all the end user will see when they log into the admin console, as opposed to when you, the root administrator, logs in and gets all this nice information here. So they're the kind of top areas that you will interact with in terms of the admin console when you're getting started with the product. It's logging in, getting yourself set up as your admin account. It's adding new users. It's setting storage limits if needed. It's updating how many devices a user can back up, and then it's things like the client configuration. If you wish to control what the end users back up, then you can do that from the admin console. From there, then it's things like checking the user's machine if they're reporting an issue. You can open up the device from once you search the user, and you can see in the backup history table what's happening on their backups from here. You can attempt restores for the end user. If the user themselves has the option to log in, then they can do that themselves. They're kind of the most common things that you will interact with when you're, I suppose, in and out of the admin support console. So they're the basics in terms of interacting with the admin console. So now you're probably thinking, okay, no, if everything is working fine, I've done all that stuff, but no, I have a user that has an issue and I need some help. What do I need to do there? So now we're going to look at how we contact support. Okay, so we're just going to close this out, and we're going to pull in here the support view. So this is support.mozy.com. Okay, the support portal itself is designed to be action oriented. So what do I mean there? So basically what we mean there is that, as you can see here, you've got tiles here for getting started, things around setup, information around billing, restores, managing your account. So it's intended to be, as I say, interactive in that sense, so that it's kind of prompting you towards what you will be actually contacting support for. So in the getting started section, if you clicked in there, you just select MozyPro, and from there then it will give you a breakdown of things to do initially when you're getting started on the MozyPro client. If it's around, if you have some of your users asking you about setups, how they configure their client, then the setup one here will give you some frequently asked questions. It will highlight some relevant knowledge base articles to you so that you can get started and get that user, I suppose, selecting files for backup, managing their devices, and so forth. So there's additional, as I say, it's action oriented, so it's intended to be, helpful in preempting what you may be looking for. But you can also just go straight down the route of searching the knowledge base. So as a MozyPro customer, you are entitled to 24/7 support, and that is via phone, via chat, via email, or as well, you have full access as well here to support.mozy.com. And I suppose the first thing we're going to look at here is the community. Okay, so the community it's our access point for a lot of our users. I suppose if you ask yourself a question, what is our community about? So basically, our community is an environment where our users can discuss issues they may be seeing, or they can share ideas that they may have with other Mozy users. And then it's moderated by our senior techs. And we also have a full-time administrator on there, moderator on there as well. So you can, ask questions in the community if you have specific questions. You can go into some of the forum topics to see some of the other discussions that are going on. And it just allows for a collaborative environment for our users to interact with one another and get some information that they may want. Why do we have something like this? I suppose the reason being is that we want to, create a community that allows our users to interact with one another first and foremost, and do it in a friendly and helpful manner. Obviously, for some users, this is enjoyable. They enjoy solving issues themselves and using knowledge base articles and discussing with other users. And they also like to share their own knowledge. So they also like to share their own knowledge and experience with others, or some issues they may be seeing. And we do acknowledge, obviously, that this is not for everybody, but it is available there to allow for that environment for those type of users that would enjoy this type of troubleshooting experience themselves. So, it's there. It's available for you to use if it's a way of interacting with support and getting answers to issues that you like to do. But we also have other ways to contact support. Okay, and the other ones are the knowledge base. Okay, so we'll look at this first. Okay, and our knowledge base basically is what I like to call kind of a living organism, because our knowledge base is all articles about issues that we may have seen, issues that are currently active, and it just basically gives troubleshooting steps to each of those scenarios. And it's why I say it's a living organism, or why I see it as a living organism, is because it's continuously evolving. Our support agents are continuously adding articles. They're continuously updating knowledge base articles, and they're removing old knowledge base articles that are not relevant any longer. There's also knowledge base articles in here in how to do basic things, how to do some more specific technical items that maybe somebody has asked us about before and we didn't have a knowledge base article and one of our support guys created. So it is worthwhile that if you do have maybe a question about something, or you're wondering about something, a quick search of our knowledge base is always a good one to do, because you may find a relevant knowledge base article that may resolve an issue for you or may answer a question for you, without you having to use your own time in contacting support. So, apologies. So, as I say, it's another additional option for our support, or for people wanting to interact with support if they want to get a quick and easy answer themselves, and they want to search for that, and they may not necessarily have the time to reach out and deal with a support agent. The other section I wanted to do quickly here is the documentation section. As I mentioned a while ago, this is where you'll find the admin console guide. You will find the Mozy user guide. You'll find information on our federated ID. If you use your Active Directory for single sign-on, you'll find release notes also on the latest versions of the software. What has been changed, what has been enhanced, and so forth in the release notes. And you'll find basically official technical documentation written by technical writers in here in the documentation section. The difference here between the documentation section and the knowledge base is that The knowledge base is continuously evolving every day in terms of new knowledge base articles going in there. They're being created by our support guys, they're being proofread, and then they're being published externally. The documentation section is more structured. It's technical documentation. It's written to a specific structure, and it would probably contain items from the knowledge base once they've become formalized. Okay, so that would be the slight difference. Okay, so there are, I suppose, self-help areas, and you're probably saying to yourself, no, okay, I get it, Niall, I can use all this self-service stuff, but look, I just want to talk to someone. I just need to talk to somebody technical and get them to resolve my issue now for me. How do I go about doing that? Well, what you do is you click on My Support up here, okay? And once you click on My Support up there, it will bring you to a login page. You just log in. Okay, of course, it wouldn't do it that time. So it's me trying to be proactive in the setup of the session. Just double back here. Isn't that what they say with live shows? Whatever can go wrong will go wrong. Sorry, no, apologies. Okay. So we're back in this. So we log into My Support. So once we do that, it will open up our support dashboard. And here I'm logging in as the root administrator on my account. Okay. And from here, I get some really good information. Okay. So first and foremost, I see any cases that I've opened underneath my account currently for any of my users. I have those there. If I've analyzed any logs that may say I have an end user who's had an issue, they've sent me their log because I'm going to quickly check it before I check if I need to open an actual support case with the Mozy support text. Then I can analyze the logs via the log analyzer here by just dragging and dropping them in there. And then I can view then any previous ones that I've seen. Okay. So there are my cases, any cases that are opening. Next thing I can do is contact support. Okay, this is where I get that option from there. It gives me the option to ask it in the community if I wish. I can create a case, open a live chat, or get phone information. If I click on phone, it gives me the phone numbers that are relevant to me. Okay, when you dial those numbers, okay, you will be prompted for your support ID. Your support ID will be listed up here, and it will also be included in the initial email that was sent to you. So that is important that you keep that email safe also. So you will be asked to enter your support ID. Once you do that, you will be interacting with a couple of menus that will give you will ask you a couple of questions in terms of your reason for contacting support, and that is just in order to get you to the correct support agent who may be a subject matter expert on the issue that you're having. So in order to improve and speed up your support experience and interact with the correct person that you when you're contacting support, so that if you're contacting about a Mac issue, that you're getting a Mac SME rather than somebody who has just only a good knowledge of the Mac software. You get somebody who is a subject matter expert. Okay. If you choose live chat, you will be prompted with the option here to start chat. You will open up a secondary window. From here, you will input the subject, the reasoning you're contacting support, and then you will have a drop down for a reason as well. And then if it's related to any cases that you currently have opened, then you can select that from there. The advantage of doing that is that if you select the previous case number, then this new chat transcript will get added and attached to that case. And that just helps us improve tracking for the case and to ensure that all interactions with support are logged with the relevant case so that there's nothing missed for your benefit. Okay. And once you're happy, you just hit submit and it will open a live chat window for you. I'm not going to do it now, obviously, but it will just open up a live chat window for you and you will be able to interact with the support representative using the live chat functionality. If you don't have time to create a phone case or you don't have the time to do a live chat, you can also create a case from here. You will be asked what is the affected device, what's the case reason, and it will ask you for a subject, and as you input a subject, it will prompt you with some knowledge base articles that may be useful for you. And if you have any attachments like log files or anything like that, you can attach them directly here. And then we would ask you that you give a brief description of the issue. Once you're happy there, you would just submit it and the case would get opened like these cases that I've opened here. If you're unsure of which device is the issue or you can't remember the device name and you want an easier way of creating cases for your users that are underneath your admin console, then you can come down here to the health score section. And if you click on this chart here, okay, it'll give you the health for your account. Because as an administrator, you will have the view here of all the machines underneath your account. Okay, so it'll give you a breakdown of the versions by platform. So your Windows machines, it will tell you, are they current? Is the version of the software they're using up to date or is it outdated? Okay. On the Mac platform, is the version of the software they're using up to date or is it outdated? As you can see here, because my account is a training account and generally people don't continue to use their training accounts after we've done some of the initial training, oftentimes it will show, as you can see here for me, that a lot of my users are outdated. What I could do there then as an administrator is in the admin console is push a newer version of the software to the users. So below that then I will see any errors that are occurring on my account, okay, and it will give me the errors that are occurring. It will tell me of any warnings, and then I can, from here then I get a list of the machines on the account. Okay, so from here, as I mentioned a while ago, you can, if you can't remember the machine name, okay, you can just come along here, find the machine in your list of all your machines here, come over to the right hand side here, and you can view any cases that are currently open for the machine. You can open a live chat directly so that when you open the live chat, the support representative will know exactly what machine is having the issue. Or you can open a case, and again, what will happen there is using this create a case option, it will again populate the information on the case within the case so that the support agent knows which machine that you're having an issue with. So you can do that directly from there. So if you're happy and then you've created a case, you've interacted with support, and you're finished with the case, you can come in here and close your case. You have the option here where it says close now to actually just physically close the case yourself, or you can just tell the Mozy support representative that you're happy to close the case and they will close it out for you. Okay. If one of your end users needs support, if it's something like adding additional storage or they need assistance with changing passwords, that's not something the Mozy support guys can help you with, because they won't have the ability in terms of adding storage, they don't have the ability to verify whether that user is entitled to additional storage. And in terms of resetting passwords, they're not able to verify the user's account to say that they can actually restore passwords, or sorry, reset that particular user's password. So in those instances, they would need to contact the root administrator to do those things for them. So that would be something that you would need to do as the root administrator. In terms of technical issues, you can come in here and open the case for the end user, as we've highlighted here. And that's the ideal thing to do, is as you as the root administrator would open the case for them. And after that, then, if you are happy to allow the Mozy support agents to interact with the end user, then they will go ahead and deal with the end user's technical issue. So for password resets and additional storage and stuff like that around their account, that's something only you as the root administrator will be able to do. But technical support issues, you can open the case for the end user, and then if you're happy enough with it and you don't want to be involved in the troubleshooting process, then you can direct the support agent to deal with the end user. So that's the end of the webinar for today. I know I've taken it right up to probably the maximum amount of time. We did have a lot of information to cover. The session is recorded. I will be forwarding it out to people once it's up on our website. But if there are any questions that you do have in terms of things that we have covered, I will stay here and answer them for you. If you don't have any questions now, but you think of any, you should have my email address from the invitation. If not, I will put it into the chat window now, and you can send me any questions in relation to the session. And if you don't have any questions and you're happy with the session and and so forth, then I'd just like to thank you for the taking time to obviously attend the session today. And if you do have any feedback for me as well, please do pop it to my email address. I do appreciate any of the feedback, or if there's any topics you'd like us to cover on our monthly support webinars, please do pop those in as well. I would really appreciate that. And as I say, any feedback at all. If I've spoken too fast, or if there was, I could have explained something better, that would be great to get that feedback as well. Thank you very much, Sherry. And again, as I say, if there are any follow-up questions that you may think of in the coming days, do please just let me know. And we hope to see you again in the future on one of our next support webinars.